I was not expecting him to flirt. I just wanted €1. It had been a hellish Monday. The kind that punches you in the gut before you've even had coffee. My boss scheduled a last-minute meeting during my lunch break. The copy machine ate the presentation handout I needed. And then my car battery decided to die just as the clouds opened up and dumped half the ocean on my head. By 8 p.m., all I wanted was something warm, greasy, and wrapped in foil. There was a little food truck parked off Fifth and Main, Yanni's Grill, hand-painted in cheerful blue and white, always smelling like oregano and grilled lamb. I'd passed it 100 times, always meaning to try it. Tonight, it felt like salvation. I walked up to the window, soaked and frazzled, clutching a $20 bill like it was my last hope. That's when I saw him. He wasn't who I expected. Not the grizzled older guy with an apron and a scowl. No, this was someone else. A younger guy, late 20s maybe, tall, scruffy beard, messy dark curls under a backwards cap. His arms were tanned, dusted with flour or maybe garlic powder. He was wearing a plain black t-shirt and the kind of smile that made you think you were the only person in the world. He leaned on the counter. Rough night. I blinked. That obvious, huh? He grinned. You look like someone who's one soggy sock away from a meltdown. I laughed, despite myself. I'm dangerously close. Well, he said, I'm told my gyros can fix almost anything. Chicken or lamb? Lamb, I replied. Bold. I like that. He scribbled something on a pad. Anything else? Just extra tzatziki. He arched an eyebrow. You got it. But full disclosure, I give extra sauce to people who smile at me. I raised an eyebrow back. That sounds like a scam. He leaned in slightly, voice lower. Only if it works. I rolled my eyes, but I was smiling. Damn it. A few minutes later, he handed me the foil-wrapped masterpiece like it was an offering from the gods. 1 healing euro. On the house. I frowned. No, really. I can pay. He shook his head. You look like you needed something good today. Consider it an emergency meal grant. I stared at him. You always flirt with tired, wet strangers. He shrugged. Only the ones who order lamb and have excellent taste in sauce. I shook my head, laughing, stepping back from the window. Thanks, Euro guy. He tapped the counter. Nico, and you are. I paused. Leah. He smiled again. Come back tomorrow, Leah. I'll have your usual ready. Extra sauce. No strings. I walked back to my car, still soaked, still tired, but warm in a different way. I sat in the driver's seat, unwrapped the euro, and took a bite. He was right. It was healing. I did go back the next day. I told myself it was for the euro. Truly. But if I'm being honest, and I am now, it was for Nico's crooked smile, the way he said my name like it was a secret, and the comfort I hadn't realized I craved. He spotted me from the truck before I even reached the counter. Leah, he called out like we were old friends. Let me guess, extra tzatziki? You know it, I said, trying to act cool, even as my stomach fluttered in ways it definitely hadn't for lamb before. Coming right up, he said, disappearing into the truck's small kitchen. I leaned against the counter, trying to ignore how my reflection in the truck's chrome looked more like a nervous teenager than a grown woman. So, he said, poking his head out again, what's the verdict? Did my euro save your life yesterday? I wouldn't go that far, I said, teasing, but I did cry less on the freeway. He laughed, his eyes lighting up. I'll take that as a win. This time, I paid. He tried to argue, but I insisted. It felt fair. Still, he slipped a baklava into the bag with a wink. Sweet for the sweet, he said. God help me. The visits became a habit. 3 days a week, sometimes 4. Always a euro, always extra sauce. Always a little more conversation. We talked about everything, And nothing, music, weird customers, how he took over the food truck after his uncle retired, how I hated my job but hadn't figured out what came next. He remembered things, asked about my car battery, my boss, my little niece who was teething like a demon, and somewhere between foil wrappers and flirtation, it became something more. Then, one Thursday, I arrived to find a handwritten sign taped to the window. Closed early today. Sorry, friends. My heart dropped more than it should have. I told myself it was fine. People take days off. It wasn't a big deal. But I checked again the next day. And the next. Still closed. On the fourth day, I left a note. Hey, Nico. Hope you're okay. Miss the gyros. And, Leah, I didn't expect a reply. But that night, I got a text. Unknown number. I'm okay. My uncle had a stroke. He's stable now. Had to fly to Athens last minute to help with the family. I'll be back in a week or two. And I miss you too. That was it. Simple. Honest. I read that last line 5 times before I smiled and texted back. 2 weeks later, the truck was back. So was Nico. He looked tired but happy to see me. I walked up, trying not to sprint. No gyro today, he said. I blinked. What? Today I'm taking a break. And you're coming with me. I tilted my head. You're kidnapping a customer? Borrowing, he said with a grin. Just for coffee. Maybe a walk. Definitely no lamb involved. I laughed. And what if I only like you for your gyros? He leaned in, close enough that I could smell garlic and cinnamon and something like citrus on his skin. Then I guess I'll just have to keep feeding you, he said, until you like me for real. And somehow I already did. We didn't go far, just to a tiny cafe around the corner where the barista knew Nico by name and gave him a free biscotti. We sat by the window with mismatched mugs of coffee, the sky turning gold outside as evening settled over the city. I learned more about him in that 1 hour than I had in 2 weeks of gyros and banter. He told me about growing up in Thessaloniki, about summers spent chasing goats on his grandfather's farm, and how his uncle taught him to cook when he was barely tall enough to see over the counter. He'd moved here on a whim, 1 suitcase and a dream of bringing honest food to people who needed a break from the noise of life. I listened, smiling, stirred cream into my coffee, and told him things I hadn't told anyone in months. How I'd outgrown my job. How I didn't know what I wanted anymore, but I was tired of feeling stuck. How I hadn't expected someone behind a food truck window to make me feel seen. He looked at me then, really looked, and said, maybe you didn't just want a gyro that first night. Maybe you wanted a sign that things could change. And I believed him. Weeks passed, then months. I quit my job, took time to write, to travel, to find myself again. Some days, I helped him in the truck, handing out foil-wrapped joy with extra tzatziki and watching strangers smile the way I once did. He kissed me behind the truck one night under a flickering street lamp, our hands smelling like rosemary and olive oil, laughter still lingering between us. I still remember what he whispered that night. I was just going to make you dinner. I didn't mean to fall in love. Neither did I. But sometimes life surprises you when you're soggy, exhausted, and just craving a gyro. And that one little craving turned into everything.